Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody is doing amazing today. I am here. My name is Cami Hoyza, and I am your host today. We are going to be talking about brand you, and what brand you has to do. So I'm so excited to share this with you today because a lot of us do not love to promote ourselves. We do not love to do that. Here, I'm going to put this on here. We do not love to do that. We like really avoid it, especially if you are a public relations or marketing professional. Sometimes you'd much rather promote somebody else than you'd rather promote yourself. So I attest to that. This has always been an issue for me, and I've always avoided things. I still do, although I really know the power of it now. So there's a really big difference in the way I look at things now. And I'm going to share that with you today. And hopefully, we're going to also look at a few other people who have been big brands, branded themselves as a personal brand. And I want us to like just sort of tear it down and look at what they've done and maybe find some things that we could put into our own brand. So hopefully you can join me with that. I'm glad you're here. Let me know you're here in the comments if you want to. I would love to interact with you if you're willing. So let me know you're here and if you are interested in building your brand. So that's where we're going to head. So real quick, I'm going to run my video so you know who I am, and here we go. Okay, great. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to just jump right in and think about looking at a couple of different brands. I'm going to look at Brené Brown. I'm going to look at Mark Schaefer, who's a friend of mine, and I'm going to look at Amy Porterfield. Three different sort of personal brands that do different things, and I'll tell you about them as we go. Hopefully, you know some of the names I've just said, and then I'm also going to look at my own. I'm going to pull up the curtain on my own personal brand and expose myself a little because it's not perfect or exactly the way I would want it to be. But I want to show you that it can be at any level because I don't feel like I'm at a higher level than most of you listening to me right now. We probably are in kind of peers. So I want us to look at this as peers and figure out ways for us to manage this. Okay, great. Hey, Susan. Yeah, you do. Yes, Susan Price, you need to embrace this. I know that. So awesome. I'm so glad you're here and on X too. So cool. I just heard that X is going to make you do the paid tier in order to continue streaming there. So I may not be there forever. Anyway, so let's just jump right in because I want you to see this is Brené Brown. So I picked Brené Brown because I'm in Houston, Texas, and Brené Brown is in Houston, Texas, and she doesn't know me from Adam, but I really admire her. And as you see, I just wanted you to see what her page looks like. She has, when you search her on Google, that's really that's really where I feel like a lot of this is your personal brand and how you show up here on Google. You'll see that at the top, she's an author and a well-known personality for that matter. So they have like her age up here and her spouse and her TED Talk, which was very, very popular and kind of what got her out there because she talked about the power of vulnerability and being vulnerable. And then, of course, she wrote a number of books around that too. So, first thing that shows up, of course, is her website. And her website has her name and it has all these things like her books about videos, guides, resources, and so on. So, this right here, having a website with you that actually uses your name. If you're going to build a true personal brand, I feel like you have to have this. I haven't myself built a true personal brand, and I'll show you mine that isn't like this here in just a minute. But I just think that this is really interesting. Then underneath, of course, are the books that she published, and there's quite a few, as you see. She talks about imperfection and so on. And then right underneath that, friends, is her Instagram account. Really interesting because she's grown that Instagram account. She's got a really good following there. So, Google knows that and it starts putting things in order. You'll see that in a minute. I'll tell you what I think can be your first page. I think it may be Instagram, but I think it's something else. And then underneath, there's a number of videos about her. And then what people ask about her because she is that famous and popular, right? So I'm starting famous here. And then right under that is her ex account, which is interesting too. And of course, her Wikipedia page. And the reason why all these other photos and things are here, probably this was pulled. I mean, I can't tell you for sure, but a lot of this was probably pulled from that Wikipedia page. And Google has made a nice little like pre-website about her. So especially with AI coming on board, more and more there's going to be these beginning sections of any kind of search. And so if you are building your personal brand, that's something to keep in mind too. The AI of, behind the scenes. I'm not talking about like a chat GPT. I'm just talking about how all of the products work behind the scenes to pull the information together about a specific topic. And in the end, you are a specific topic in this case. So I like how she's kind of showing up here, and you can see her Wikipedia page is there, and then of course top stories about her because she has a lot of media and press about her. I'm going to show you how that will show up for a more mere mortal like ourselves in a minute. And LinkedIn is right underneath that. So there's her LinkedIn page. By the way, spoiler alert, I feel like your LinkedIn page is going to be what actually shows up on top for you, but I'll show you in a minute why I think that. And then, of course, her Amazon book account, where all of her books are at on Amazon. And by the way, some people are moving away from like listing their books on Amazon. I mean, you can list your books if you write a book, which I've written a couple. If you write a book, you can sell them through other sellers, and you should. And it's wonderful if you do. But you really must have an Amazon author account just for this reason that I'm showing you right now. And then Facebook. Okay, so great. And then you can keep going. She's got a Netflix, which is really interesting. She's got The Call to Courage on Netflix, and that's really down here, guys. I mean, you have to go really far before you find these things. Her Goodreads, again, other sources besides Amazon. University of Houston, which is where, she's, a faculty. And that's amazing. So I'm gonna actually I'm speaking at UH. I'm doing a speech at UH in just a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about that. But I don't think Brené Brown is going to show up for that one. Anyway, cool. So Brainy quotes, Brené Brown. Okay, so this is just Brené. I just wanted you to see somebody who is fairly well known in the sort of B2B space, if you want to call it that, in the knowledge sharing space, which we kind of play in. I think those who listen to me kind of play in this space. We would all love to get a hit TED Talk and, go viral, but we haven't done that yet. So what about a more middle of the road mortal who isn't middle of the road because he's worked really hard at this, but Mark Schaefer, who's written a ton of books as well. He's more of in the marketing space. He's known as the PR and marketing guy. So what about him? And social media, mostly. He was known early days for social media. And so what about him? I know Mark, he's a personal friend of mine, but I wanted to see how he showed up. Well, look at that. He has the same sort of setup as Brené Brown. Now, I will tell you, Mark is aware of this, and he has a branding class. I've taken it, and he works very hard at this, especially with his website and other things. So this shows up for him as well. His education, his age, his pictures, his more current pictures, they pull them all in here. And then the very first result, again, is of course, website with his namesake, right? Mark Schaefer. But it's called Businesses Grow. So look at that. This is not his name. This URL is not his name, but he has branded this website by all kinds of like putting it into the code inside of the website that this is about him, right? So it automatically says his headline for this website is Mark Schaefer, Marketing Keynote Speaker Strategy. So you can put that in your website behind, right? Whatever shows up here. And that is exactly what he's done. And he says he's been recognized internationally as a top social media marketing expert. And he's an author, speaker, and consults with the world's largest, that says brands. I just happen to know that, he's consulted with huge brands. By the way, I'll go back to Brené's real quick. Hers says Brené Brown is a researcher and storyteller who spent 2 decades studying courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. So you probably need a little line about yourself and what you do. And I'll show you something in a minute, something I realized in doing this research while I was preparing this for you last week. So Mark's second result is also X. So there it is. His second result is X. And then underneath that are all of his books, or not all of them, but his most recent books are sitting here, and then you can kind of scroll to see his other books, right? And it takes you to them. So that's the other thing. You can go very quickly around, and I'll show you that when we get to the other one. And then he has LinkedIn. Okay, so there it is again. LinkedIn is like the next one. And then he has Instagram, Medium, which is where he has done a lot of writing, and Amazon. So, again, these are really important websites. So, your website is going to be, could be the first result, but your first result could be one of these others. And I'm going to show you in a minute some others that are like that. So, there's another pretty well known person. Her name is Amy Porterfield, and she is a coach and consultant. She sells online courses, and she teaches you how to do online courses. Again, the first result is her website. Now she doesn't have that top space like all of the others because she's not an author, and I don't know, she just has not gotten that level yet. She just put out her first book just recently, which I think is amazing. And so she talks about online marketing expert and best-selling author because she just launched a book, which doesn't surprise me. It went to bestseller status immediately because she has a big audience. And then what's under that? Well, Instagram for her, and I do know she loves Instagram. She uses it quite a bit. And then under that is Facebook, and then X, and then YouTube, and then LinkedIn for her. So then you definitely have CNBC under that. She was interviewed somewhere, and LinkedIn again. Okay. Apple is there too, which is interesting. And that makes sense because she has a podcast. She's a podcaster. So Apple would be there. That makes a lot of sense right there. And then also YouTube, similarly, she was on somebody else's show. So that's interesting. Um, that that was really interesting. She's right here on a different show, on Kathy Heller's show. So this is showing up and high in her results. So see, it's also, you don't have to have it be your platform. You can have it be somebody else's platform that is well known. If you get on their platform, you can have these show up in these top results. So this is pretty cool. Spotify, of course, for her podcast and so on. All right. So one more that I'm going to show you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can apply this to your brand. Okay. So stick with me. So this is a little scary. I'm going to show you mine. I Googled myself. If you haven't Googled yourself recently, you really should consider doing that. Oh, by the way, I've got Digo open. I don't know if I can shut that or not. Oh yeah. They want me to, I'll turn it on and then it'll give me some more space here. So, this is me. So I do not have the top thing, and I don't even have a website that's named after myself. I do have a website. It is my second result right here. It's Zoetica Media, and it's sitting right here. And it doesn't give me a lot of the things they had. They had all of these subcategories and stuff showing up right here. And I don't know why it's not showing up here like that, but I will actually do a little research on that because I think it has to do with my it being about me here. So I need to probably infuse my website with a little bit more of me. See, so there's a place I can do it. I also see some older pictures. I probably need to go back in there and figure out how to change that out. Like, it's not hard to do. And then here's what I really wanted to show you. What is my number one result? Well, my friends, my number one result is LinkedIn. LinkedIn. If you do not have a strong LinkedIn profile, you really need to build that, because if somebody's searching for you, I suggest that you go see what is your first result right now and then optimize whatever that is. For me, it's LinkedIn. It could be LinkedIn for you if you optimize that as well. But my point is that you need to see what is the first result for your name. Now, if you have a common name, like one that a lot of people have, you might want to consider a middle initial, or branding yourself with that middle initial in there, or something like that. So I don't know if you can, that would be amazing. So I would feel like that's really what I would do. So for me, that's the low hanging fruit. I see the first one is LinkedIn. The second one is my website. So now I'm going to go back and optimize for that. And I think that's something you can do as well. Again, I was going to show you this kind of going down. I also see that Instagram is my third result, friends. And I have been a reluctant Instagrammer, but you know what? It's my third result. So you got to keep looking at these pieces and see it. And then the fourth result is again my website. So that's amazing. And then X is right after that, which doesn't surprise me. I have a pretty big following on X, although I have to be honest, I haven't recently haven't been as active on X as I was before, just because it's kind of it's a strange, different world over there. It used to have different people following. YouTube is right after that, and I do have a really strong YouTube channel. If you're here from YouTube, wave. But definitely, YouTube is one of my stronger channels right now. All of my videos, like the one I'm doing right now, go onto YouTube. Also, anything from Social Media Breakfast of Houston goes on YouTube. So that's good. And I know you can't really see this very well, so I'm just going to pull it back. And then after that is my Forbes profile, because I have a profile on Forbes. And then I have a bunch of other things. So one of the things I wanted to show you that's interesting about this in general is that when you search yourself, there's going to be a list of things across the top of the page. And I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but across the top of the page, there is, in any search you do, they say all images, news, videos, forums, shopping, web. So when you look at yourself, I want you to look across all of these pieces. So this is the straight search. And then I go to images, and it's going to pull up a bunch of images of me, like from different times and places. Oh my gosh, this is like so old, decades old. And so you can look and see all of the different kinds of things that are popping up about you. So I have a lot. I've been doing, social media and this kind of work for literally years. So there's a lot of images in here that are connected to me, and you'll see that. So it's good for you to look at that too and see if anything's out of place or weird. For example, the Global Tea Break podcast is here. I was on that podcast. Really cool. And then if you go to news, it'll show if you've appeared in any news articles. I've been very fortunate to do that. So that's the other thing that you might want to consider. I was talking about PR for you. And one of the things I think that would be really helpful for you to think about is how can you answer questions from journalists, or get involved in something where you get some news coverage, because that will show up in your profile too in the news section. And one of the things I really was shocked by, I was actually surprised when this happened. Yesterday, I pulled this up one more time, and I saw that my results. I mean, I see things like Houston police seeks public's help to identify shooter on Snapchat. I see these from 2018, and there's more. They're all out of order, but I've done a lot of media interviews where people ask me about social media and so on over the years. But right here was really interesting. It was this Forbes article about how to become a thought leader without self-promoting and why. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like my topic, right? And so that was interesting. And I clicked through there to find out what that was. And I also found this one that I didn't know what it was either, which was The Guardian. It said that I'd showed up in The Guardian, the Sunday Guardian. And I'm like, I definitely did not talk to anybody in the Sunday Guardian. And so I came in here and I was like, who wrote this? It was this Magna Peer, who I don't know. And then I just did a real quick search of the page for my name. And what do you know? There was a quote that I put out in a little book that I wrote a couple years back. And this particular quote, for whatever reason, has absolutely resonated with people, and people have carried it on a bunch of different websites. And so guess what? I get quoted all the time for this right here. It says, the first rule of social media is that everything changes all the time. What won't change is the community's desire to network. And here's the funny thing about this quote. I wrote a little book of quotes, and then I got quoted in some lists over time because people were looking for social media lists, and those popped up. And I'm sure people like had Googled social media quotes. But if you take this and you put it back into Google, this is the actual quote, and you'll see that this quote has been picked up like thousands, 2,600 results. These are images, and believe me, I have not made all these images. Other people have made all these images. These are a couple of images that you can see. And there's, I don't know if there's videos. I don't know. I haven't looked at that. There's also videos that have been made, and so on. So there's just a lot of this out there. And I am going to say that came from just doing a little book. So you might want to consider that too, like publishing something even in today's age, is so important for your brand. If you can publish a little something out there, even if it's like a blog post full of quotes that you've thought about around some topic. So that could be one way to go about it as well. So that's just one way. And again, this quote that it got picked up for me, nobody knows who I am. I mean, the people who picked it up weren't like, "Oh, Cami, what a wise sage." That is not the way that went. It went like, I'm looking for social media quotes that resonate. And then I wrote a couple of them that were out there, and they picked this one specifically up, and it's gone viral. So, again, you never know what's going to go viral or what's going to happen. But guess what? Your voice is important. And unless you share those little pieces of wisdom that you have, people won't know about them. If you keep them in your head or just with your friends and neighbors, we can't know and we can't share them. And so that's part of what I'm trying to say here, is that you need to start thinking about that as well. And one of the things I wanted to say is that there's a huge secret here. This is the huge secret. Your brand voice is about your client and not about you. So one of the things you need to do is be really clear about creating a brand voice. And that's going to be about your client, not you. So all of that weirdness of like, I don't like to talk about myself, I don't want to do this. Really what you're doing is you're talking about your client and what their needs are, not about you and what your needs are and what how great you are. You're talking about everything in service of your client, everything in service of making sure that your client is uplifted. So all of the stuff that you do has to be around that, and that'll really help you to get out of your shell, because we really tend to like close ourselves down, and we have the wrong kind of thinking about it, because our thinking is, oh, I don't want to like self promote, I don't want to like sound like an idiot. By the way, I've heard my peers, make fun of other people because they're too promotional or they're too salesy. And over the years, I would avoid it for that reason. And I realized that when I realized it was about my clients and how I can help my clients, it changed everything. I don't mind talking about things as long as they're in service of you. Do you know? So brand you is actually about your client and about the persons that you're trying to reach and about the persons you're trying to help. That's why in those marketing classes where they say, I help, you know, coaches and PR and marketing coaches and consultants to get visibility for themselves and their brand. Okay, that is like a little formulaic thing that I think so many people have us put together. And the problem with um, that is that, of course, we stop listening to that. But listen, I help. That's so important. Who do you help? And that's really important to have dialed into your head so that you can get over your own brain waves to get out and talk to that person. When I send out emails, when I send out videos like this, when I do anything, I'm talking to one person. I'm talking to you right now because I know that this will help you. And that's really, really important that you do the same thing. Like it isn't about like a huge audience and a lot of people. And I could kind of care less about the numbers of people that see a specific piece of content that I write or do, or the videos that I do. I care about the handful of people, the one person. I care about you. I care about the one person that gets something out of this. Will you go on to work with me? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. I just want you to get a little bit out of this that you can then add into your toolkit to move forward. So that's the bottom line, is that thinking part, right? So knowing who your dream client is really important. I'm going to talk about that in the next couple of weeks, about how I won't work with somebody unless I feel like they're my dream client anymore, because that's really who I can help the best. So anyway, you're gonna want to get to know that dream client so well, their fears, their needs, their personality, what voice would attract them. And one of the things I am doing is in July, I'm going to be having an open house where I'm going to be doing a brand voice walkthrough. I do this quarterly roughly, but basically it's a free workshop to see what my Smart Social Mastery class is a membership program, but I open it up once every quarter or so for anybody to come and actually create their brand voice, because it's so important that you have a brand voice that attracts your dream client. So I would love for you to come. I can't, it's too much to do in like a live stream like this. And in fact, that's a workshop. So like we open up our computers and we actually leave with a brand voice all mapped out. So I would love it if you join me for that. In some of these live streams, I think the link is in there. I think in LinkedIn, I'll have to put it in afterwards. So if you are on LinkedIn and listening, or Twitter and listening, Twitter X listening, let me know you want that link and I'll send it to you, because they just don't allow the links to come in too easily. So anyway, that's my point, is that you need to start thinking about this in a very different way. You need to look and see, like open it up and Google yourself. We used to say that all the time. When have you Googled yourself lately? Have you Googled yourself lately? Google yourself and see, how are you showing up right now? And then optimize those first couple of results. Instead of trying to get something to the first results, why not optimize what's already trending? Now, if there's nothing for you yet, um, that would be really, we could talk about that. I would say that that will have to be somewhere in your name. We're gonna have to like brand you in a different name, like not a different name, but like a different configuration of the name, so that when people look for you, they're looking for who will show up. Because I know that's a problem, right? So my name is like Cami Hoysa, and I know you're going to think, oh my gosh, nobody has that name, right? And you're right, nobody does. I'm really lucky. I married into that name, so I could have called myself anything, right? My name before was Cami. My name is Cami Watson Hoysa, so I was Cami Watson, which was still somewhat unique and all. But my point is if your name isn't unique, it's okay. It's okay, because we can make it, we can come up with a place where it shows up. So you may want to like search around and see if anything pulls you up, like your name and maybe your profession, your name and, some sort of thing that you've done in the past, and see what already shows up for you. There is something, if you've done any online content, probably that will show up for you if you do the right kind of long tail search for your name. And then you're going to want to think about how to brand yourself in that way. For example, I have a really good friend. His name is Scott Smith. Scott Smith is branded everywhere as D. Scott Smith. Scott Smith is one of the co-leaders of the Global Tea Break. He's a really good friend of mine. He's great at teaching people how to write books. He's got a lot of really cool things that he does. And so one of the things he had to do was brand his name, because Scott Smith is about as basic as you can get, right? But there isn't that many D. Scott Smiths. And, he has branded that for himself, and that's really good. So you want to have that happening, and how he's done it. He's written some books here. I'm going to pull it up so you can see him. Um, I just did a little search for him so you could see. But D. Scott Smith, his first result is Amazon, because he's written a couple of books, and that's his first result. His second result is his website, which is D. Scott Smith. It doesn't even have a big domain authority. It's like 14, which is not a big one. And it shows up second for him. So again, I think we psych ourselves out on what we need to do in order to get there. So there you go. Okay, Susan, I will send that to you. I'll send that to you like right away, because you and I are connected in every single platform. I'll probably send it to you on LinkedIn if that's okay. Um, so that is definitely what we're doing here. So that is it. We have to think about who we're trying to serve and just focus relentlessly on them and less on ourselves. And that will feel a lot more comfortable for you. So I hope this has helped you. I hope that my deep dive into a couple of brands, including mine, which was a little embarrassing because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I need to fix. But I thought it would be helpful if I showed you, because I feel like I'm doing pretty well, and still there's things I need to fix, right? And so you and I will fix them together. And if you are feeling like I need to have more brand voice stuff, let me know and I will definitely get you the link to that. brand voice workshop, which is coming up soon. So I would love to have you there, and it's free. And I don't, it's an hour, maybe a little bit more of your time to get that like done, to get that piece of your marketing for yourself done. And if you're like, yeah, I would really want to market my business, not me, the person. I mean, you can definitely look at that, but guess what? In the end of the day, you definitely want to do both. You want to market both of them. And I didn't bring up my company in here, which is Zoetica Media, but when I search for Zoetica Media, it shows up. Okay, so it definitely shows up. But I wanted to talk about our personal brand because that's the sticky wicket. That's the part that we don't love. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, in this day and age, your personal brand has become more important than ever, especially with AI and other tools like that where people can mimic you and so forth. People need to know who you are and know what you bring to the table. And people love to talk to other people. I don't love to like call up a brand and talk to the brand. I talk to a human being on the other side of the brand. Here's an example. My husband and I, every Friday, we go to a little burger joint here, not too far from my house, called Hat Creek. And Hat Creek was started in Austin, Texas, and has kind of grown throughout the state. And it's a really cool little restaurant. I mean, it's just fast food. Okay. So that's it. But they have a paleo bowl, which is like a little bowl with like sweet potatoes and spinach. And I get the turkey burger on top of it. And all of that, and some tomatoes and things. And oh, and yeah, avocado as well. So anyway, I go there every Friday with my husband and I love my little bowl. Guess what? When I walk in the door, Gabby, who is one of the people that works there, will make a shake for my husband. It's called the Gab. She calls it the Gabby special for Luke. And everybody that we walk up to the registers, they know our names. They know our orders. They've memorized our orders because we come every week. When I went there for my birthday, he comped my meal, which is really sweet. When I was really sick, he sent food home with my husband for me because I couldn't make it. And so, people want to know people. And I love the people at Hat Creek. And I like Hat Creek. We enjoy it. We enjoy going there and eating that particular meal. But what I enjoy more is being known by that person, and that person, all of the staff there knowing us and like treating us like their family, or their friends. And so that's really what your clients want too. They want to know that you understand them and that you are invested in them and so forth. So that is it. That is the mind trick. It's the Jedi mind trick. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day. I hope that everybody goes out there and starts doing their brand. And if you want to do it yourself, that's great. Start with your search stuff and optimize those first few channels. If you want to do it with me, we have that free brand voice workshop coming up. Let me know you want the link. I'll make sure you get it. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.